because as I messaged you, I text messaged you, I was like, it blew my socks off for a reason. And one reason, the main reason is I'm so self-aware. I know who I am. I know so well. So when I read the article, I just thought, oh, how interesting. I was like, I literally thought in my head, that's not me. I was like, I don't do that. And I was like, cool. That is so fascinating to have it all the time. And then it just, I just really like the article. I mean, you're right. Like everyone has anxiety. The science is right there. Like everyone has anxiety and everyone's, it's a thing. Jerry Seinfeld's hilarious. He made this commentary once of like horror films. Why? We're all walking around terrified already. Why do we need horror films? So I read it. I enjoyed it. I was sitting on my couch. I remember it super clearly. And then I'm not sure. It took me like a couple days because I knew, I was like, obviously we all get songs in our head, right? I'm aware of that. But the way you described it, you're like, it was constant. And I was like, yeah, definitely not me. So then I'm singing in my house and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. But it kept made me think of your article. And then the next day, and then the next day. And I was like, wait a minute, do I do this? And then I started keeping a log because I wanted to see how often it was happening because you don't think about it. I just had never thought about it before. I never thought that I was doing that. And because in your article, you're so aware that you're doing it. And I am generally living my life so aware of who I am and what I'm doing. So it's so delightful to surprise myself because I'm rarely surprised. That's what I really loved about it. I just loved it. So I have a log. It's called Music in My Head. And like on 4/19, that one made sense. I heard a song in the movie The Princess and the Frog. And so I was like, oh, that's a great song. So I didn't think about it because I was like, oh yeah, it's an unusual, it's kind of a New Orleans. I was like, oh, that's a reason that's in my head. But then it started going on, and there was a day, My Cherie Amour by Stevie Wonder was in my head. And I was like, there's no reason and I was trying to track like where that song came from. And it came from nowhere. And then, because in yours, I reread your article again today, and you're like, oh, music in the grocery. And so that's kind of how I kind of thought that would happen organically. But then I started realizing, I started taking really detailed notes about this. I saw a silverfish in my bathroom. And next thing I know, I'm singing Silver Bells. So I'm like, that's a silverfish. And I would never have noticed the correlation if I hadn't been paying attention, because every time I start singing the song, I go, hey, what song are you singing? Why are you singing it? So I started doing that thing. So I had this crazy log is just growing like on, I think, it's today. So today I already had 6 songs. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I'm doing it. But
I love you're tracking it. This is logging it. That's amazing.
Well, I just couldn't believe that this is something about myself that I didn't know. So that's what, and I just
interesting.
I think we are our own enigmas, in life. It's the one mystery that we can maybe crack,
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, something new.
That's awesome. So do you feel like, Vanessa, now that you have this awareness about what's going on in your head, I mean, can you correlate that to, keeping anxiety at bay?
Yes, absolutely. Because I actually do, at this point in my life, I'm really not that anxious because I've created all these systems to eliminate anxiety. So like one of the most stressful things for me to do is nothing. It's like, if there's a problem, I need to be fixing it. As long as I'm fixing it, I'm stress-free. But I have had anxiety when I was very young, a lot of anxiety. And I had forgotten how bad that anxiety was. Incident had happened I think it was 2 years ago. And I recall what anxiety was like. It had been so long since I'd had it. But it was exactly what you had described, like the washing machine thought process. And it was cool to experience because I got to reacquaint myself with anxiety because I hadn't had that kind of, I was like, this is almost like an episode. So I was like writing about it and studying it as it was happening with me. And yeah, so I started thinking about that because I have so little experience with that kind of anxiety in the past probably 5 years, maybe 10 years. So I was comparing the singing I was doing since I read your article to that washing machine worry. And yeah, it really hit me. You and I are very similar in the pandemic. We're like, do what we need to do. We're not going to sit here and create issues. We're not going to have anxiety attacks. and I find like I'm doing my thing that I love most, getting things done. That's definitely a stress reliever. But yeah, I was noticing just really keeping track of my thoughts. You know, I'm having a thought, and then next thing you know, I'm singing, and then I'm having a
Mm.
thought, and those thoughts could basically, I think what happens is that I might worry or I might get bored, and instead I just start enjoying the moment, like playing.
Mm.
So for me, it feels a lot like play. Yeah, where it's taking the spot in the mind where someone might be thinking, "Oh, when's that deadline? Oh, is coronavirus going to get me?" Instead of having those thoughts, I'm thinking, "What is it? My cherie amour," you know?
My cherie
Cherie
amour.
amour. Yeah, and it's just in my head, and
That's
yeah,
a good one. I haven't had that one in my head in a long time. I'm gonna have to play that.
it's been enjoyable. Yeah, so I totally see what you're saying. Absolutely. Like, you know, you're doing these mundane things. Where's your mind supposed to go? It can go
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yep.
And so I've just been enjoying it, really. And I think I don't usually have, like, I was reading that thread. I didn't read it the first time I read your article, but reread your article today. Clicked on the Quora thread. And I was like, again, I got that feeling of like, I feel like that's not me. Like, I don't have music all the time.
Mm.
But I think that I have it a lot of the time. And it's when I'm alone. It's mostly when I'm
Mm.
alone.
Yeah, no, and thank you for bringing up that point because I've had people ask me like, when are you playing music? Is it, is it constant? And to your point, if I'm having a conversation with somebody, I don't have,
No,
a
there's nothing
symphony going on.
right now.
Exactly. Yeah, but to your point, it's those times where I don't even know how to describe it well. But it's, I think, as you said, it's when you're doing something, you're running around, you're doing something around the house, whatever it is, it's filling that void of the washing machine, as you described, right? So we can replay conversations that we had with somebody yesterday and try to fix that conversation, or we can play music, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, I was really keeping track of it because it really blew my mind. I noticed that it's transition music. So let's say
Mm.
I'm thinking about, like right now I'm thinking about you, I'm thinking about the article, I'm not singing, I'm thinking about these
Yeah.
things. And
Yeah.
then when this conversation is over and I go to get up, I might think things like, oh, that went well, or maybe it didn't go well. But then immediately after that thought, the music will begin.
Ah,
It's like until I think, oh, look, this table needs to be cleaned. But then the singing begins again. So it's like this transition thought or transition music, like a
yeah,
movie being played, and it's like, here's the clip of this, and then yeah.
I
Any,
like that.
so like anything physical or not, like when I'm driving, obviously,
Yeah.
always there's music when I'm driving.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, me
Not
too.
actual
Absolutely.
that I've turned on.
Exactly. What's interesting, Vanessa, is so I noticed this, as I mentioned in my article, partially because of my family and listening to my aunt, hum, and my, having these conversations with my dad, because I do reflect, and you said something that is, I think, key to how I grew up. My dad would always do that. He would take a word and then rap it, he'll pick a song that was this, so your silverfish, silver bells example. He would do that constantly. He would do that to all my friends too. So my friends would come over, and let's say you were a childhood friend of mine, and Vanessa comes over, and he would find some 50s song with the name Vanessa in it, and he would just start singing it. He'd be like, oh, Vanessa, how you doing? Like, he would just like doing show tunes, kind of thing. It's adorable. And then he would twist songs and make up his own words, anyways. So so I, in this process of realizing this, and having conversations like this with other people, I will tell you, there was a recent time where the music stopped playing, and I noticed it. So I noticed this music scenario and talking to folks and the anxiety conversation, but I'm trying to remember exactly when it was. Maybe about a year ago, in a conversation, I'm like, wait, the music went away. And that was a key to me to step back and say, well, why? What's going on? Why did the music go away? Right? In my head. And I don't have a good answer. I didn't go see anybody, about it, but what I did
You're
is
like, my radio's broken. What happened?
I know, like, can you fix it? What's going on here? And so I just made a conscious effort to play more music in my life. I think maybe as I talk through this, part of what I think was coming up for me as I was watching more news at the time, I was listening to more podcasts. I'm a huge music fan too, and for a long time I would, for the most part in the car, play music, on my run, play music. And I had kind of switched gears from that, more news, more podcasts, that type of thing. I was listening to a lot of NPR in the car. And I stopped that, frankly, because I realized like that triggered the music going away to some extent. And I felt like I had to get back to turning the music back on in my brain.
How interesting. Yeah, I think it's just a really good time for me to read the article, because I think maybe the music is playing for me more now because of the peace that I have. I don't have children. Quarantine with children is just a whole other thing. I don't think there's no peace for them.
Yes, I know.
But yes, my prayers are with you.
Hats off. Yes.
So, I have a nice home, and I'm doing well here as much as I can, with this current situation. And there's just time for the music to play, there's just, and, I'm keeping this log now. I'm wondering if, and when my life gets back to more hectic pace, how much is that going on? But I actually think it is going on. I'm realizing more and more that the transition music, I think, is always there. But whereas today I've had like 6 songs, I'm like, I don't know if that's accurate to my normal life.
That is so interesting. It is so, so interesting. So how do you think we can help others get the music playing in their head?
Well, I think what it is it's just that self-awareness. Here I am thinking that, because I know what it's like to have severe anxiety. I remember being 6 years old, not 6, well, yeah, definitely 6 years old, but I think I was like 12. I was 12 years old, and I had forgotten to return a Blockbuster video. And I couldn't sleep that night because I was so anxious over the late fee. It's like that kind of level of anxiety very young. And the older I got, the more I was able to just eliminate it. I was homeschooled when I was younger, and when I went to public school, that was terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And my mom was an excellent teacher, but there was 4 kids. She was educating 4 kids at different stages. Wow. And so I was behind in a lot of ways. And so in my mind, I was always stressed about being behind, which made me get such good grades. But I was terrified to miss school. I was just like, I have to stay there. I have to learn. So there was so much anxiety in my youth. And then it just slowly went away by level. Like every year I got older, the less anxious I would get. And so I just reached a point where, if there was a problem, I'm going to fix it. Because I was like, okay, anxious, not knowing anything. Not anxious, knowing stuff. So that's what I did to get over the anxiety. And I always joke that I was born an old person. I get younger and younger as I get older. And that, I think that self-awareness. So for me, I have a friend who has very severe anxiety, and I'm telling her, I was like, you have to just organize your inbox. Your inbox is giving you anxiety. You didn't even know about it. I call them micro stressors. So all of these micro stressors are going on, and I started identifying them, like that self-awareness. So I feel like the first step to start the music is understanding when your anxiety starts and stops. So keeping that log of the washing machine thoughts, and then thinking, how can you put a wrench in that machine? Right.
Good visual.
Yeah. Stop that cycle. Because just like you said, being concerned, having an issue, great. Have that thought once. You don't need to have it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh man. So, having that thought and then writing down. My big thing that I do is I write down those things, and once it's on paper, it's gone for me.
That's great.
And I think once you start identifying all of that stuff, I think the music will start, because you have to get all the other stuff out of your head. So get that stuff there, turns the music on, and gets the music in the head.
That's great advice. I love that. Awesome. I think you have a new career as a psychologist, Vanessa.
Well,
Forget the styling. You're done with that. Let's move you. No, I'm teasing. You are an amazing stylist. Please don't stop being an amazing
Well,
stylist.
one of the reasons I'm so good is because I get people. So I
Mm.
can, and that's one of the things that, I mean, since day one, you know, there's people who have fashion degrees, and then I have a costume design degree, and that is about reading the character. It's not
Mm.
about creating fashion. It's about who is that person, and then what does that person wear, you know? So you get to know the person first. So my training is for character study,
Mm.
and then you costume that character. So yeah, no, people are my thing. I like people. I like how our brains work.
So interesting, right? And what's fascinating to me is we're still figuring it out, right? I mean, how long have we been on this earth and we're still figuring out, you know, specifically the topic we're, you know, talking about is anxiety, and the fact that so many people have such significant amounts of anxiety and getting worse and worse, it feels like, generation by generation, right? I talk to teenagers and their anxiety levels are off the charts.
I mean, I was a really anxious teenager.
Well, and maybe we just didn't have awareness about it, but I don't remember having those conversations. Maybe we just didn't talk about it before. But when I talk to teenagers now, yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe it's just part of our language, and this is how we express ourselves now.
I would say it's definitely, you know, we feel like there's a lot of problems right now. We just have a lot of cameras now. You know, we have a lot of
Yeah.
platforms now to talk about those things. So I
Yeah.
think there's definitely that level. You know, there's things I'm finding out about friends from high school. I'm like, oh my God, you were going through that? Like, I didn't know. You didn't talk about it.
I
Whereas
see.
now it's a safer place to talk about things. But to your point, my God, of course, social media, that is a beast. Like that is, I can't even imagine being young and having that. I mean, my journals from that time period is embarrassing enough. I can't even imagine having, you know, cameras on me and then showing that to people who then attack you.
Yeah.
Oh, so I mean, that's just, I think that's anxiety for adults right now. So that I think is a huge, huge portion of extra anxiety in.
Yeah.
But I
I
do
agree.
think a lot of part of that is just people know the word anxiety now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So actually, one of my good friends, one of our good friends, she was talking to her son, and he about basically, I sent her an article about technology and children, and she read it to him, saying like, you will have more anxiety when you get older if you have too much technology in your life, because you know he's always asking for the iPad,
Yeah.
and he's like, what's anxiety? And so he's 7, learning the word anxiety in this current culture, which is educating ourselves on this. Whereas maybe you heard the word anxiety when you were 16 or 20 or, you know, 30, who knows, back in the day.
True. Yeah, that's the awareness piece. That's a really, really good point.
What songs are you playing, by the way?
You know, my go-to is the Coldplay Sky Full of Stars. Like if I'm ever like stuck, I just go to that, because the dun 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 and sky full of stars. I love that song.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, I'd say my genre is it kind of tends to be that era a little bit, like bad 2000s music. I don't know what that is. I don't know. I don't like do I hate musicals. I know that makes me a terrible person, but so I never go to like musical kind of like, you know, Broadway kind of stuff.
I think I mean, you don't know this about me, but I like Disney.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
So I like, the Little Mermaid songs, or like Aladdin, those are in my head regularly.
Absolutely. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I would say I do a lot of reggae. Like Don't Worry, Be Happy, kind of Three Little Birds. Yeah, right? Because that's just an easy go-to, and I know that I like, sometimes I'll get off track and I'll just be like, no, let's put a new record on right now. That's not working for me.
So do you give yourself prompts to start doing
sometimes if I'm like, if the song is on the washing machine mode and I'm just doing it over and over again, I will like literally like consciously go, okay, I need a different song, and I'll like switch stations basically.
Awesome. Well, I think that's the tip for people. It's like, what song? Because I also enjoy the singing, which is why it happens when I'm alone. Hearing it. But sometimes, oh my God, you know what song I love? The Golden Girls theme song.
Oh,
So I enjoy singing that. So I will, like, if I want to take a moment for myself, that's what I'm going to do.
oh, that's smart. I like that. I like that. That's interesting. So wait, let me ask, because I'm, do you sing out loud?
Yes. But,
Ah,
and
that's an important distinction.
that's why I thought it wasn't me about the head thing. But then I realized it's
Mm,
happening in my head.
I
So
see.
before
I
so
see.
basically it started in my head before it goes out loud.
Got it.
Yeah, so that's why I was like, oh, that's not me. Sometimes I sing, you know, so that's where the surprise came from. I didn't realize that when I start singing out loud, it's because I had already been going on in my head for quite some time.
Ah, interesting. Interesting. Okay, so it's an interesting distinction, because I never sing. I don't want to say never, but I rarely sing out loud. I have a terrible voice, and it would, like, just terrible.
No, I have a terrible voice too, absolutely. And if I'm singing out loud, it's like 2 words, it's 3 words.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not like belting out the whole
I'm not like
performance.
California, you know, I'm not like,
Knows how to party.
no,
Um, okay, interesting. Yeah, maybe that kind of ties back to my notice of my aunt when we were in Sweden, and her humming. She was humming all the time, and that's kind of what prompted this whole thing. Was like, wait, she must be playing music in her head too.
yeah, and that's what came to me. I was like, oh, if I'm singing out loud, it must have started in my head. It was such a stupid, childish connection. And then I started
No.
realizing, no, it's in my head. And I rarely sing. It's like 2, 3 words in a day or something. It's not a big deal.
Okay, I see. I see.
But I don't know why I got really into the Golden Girls thing. I looked at the lyrics. Now I sing it to my friends on their birthdays. It's the whole thing. But yeah, so in this whole process, I started thinking how when I learned how to sing that song for my friends on their birthday, I enjoyed it so much. I started making myself sing out loud. And it was
Mm.
making my days better. So I really do think that music of giving yourself that prompt, if you have the washing machine stress going on, turn on a song you really like. And I think for some people who don't naturally hear it in their head, they're going to have to sing
Ah, good point. Yeah, that makes sense.
because you have to really, you can't, I don't know about you, but you can't talk and think something differently at the same time,
Yeah, yes,
you
true,
know?
true.
So
Yes, that is true. That's a good point.
when you're singing, you're thinking about the singing.
Yeah.
So I think, and then, you know, not around people because that's embarrassing, I think. But, you know, give it a whirl, go at the bathroom, go in a closet, I don't know, get away and focus on the singing, a song you really enjoy. Because there's songs I enjoy hearing, and then there's songs I enjoy singing.
Ah, that makes sense.
And I
Interesting. Well, we
found this out.
wait, that's so interesting. Yeah, we can all jump in the car, right? And belt it out. When was the last time? Let's put a challenge to folks that are watching this. When was the last time you jumped in your car, cranked up your favorite song, and just started belting it out?
Oh my God, yes. Well, that was yesterday
Yay!
for me. No, I'm
Um,
really getting into because I'm really seeing just like what you're talking about, the serotonin, the dopamine. I feel it. Like I'm having fun because our fun's really limited right now. I'm not doing dance parties. I'm like writing a book. I'm working out. And even though I'm enjoying this piece, I'm missing adventure, and music is adventurous. You know, I feel like if I'm singing, if I'm dancing, it's playtime.
yeah.
So that need that right now. I'm missing it. So
Awesome.
I think people need to, play. The science is there for that. People need to play. And I think music and play is almost synonymous in so many ways.
Such a
So
good point.
you find the most fun, playful, you know, for a lot of anxious women in their 30s, what song did you love in college that you danced to, you know? So get that going. You don't have to dance, you don't have to sing, but it's encouraged.
Yes, exactly. Extra bonus points for that.
Absolutely.
So,
Do that.
yeah. So give us 2 or 3 of your other favorite songs that you've been singing in your head recently.
Oh gosh, okay.
Go to the log.
I have the log. So, my Sharia Moore has been going on all week, I gotta tell you.
Okay.
Oh, you know what song I was enjoying? Although, you know, some of these are sad. Um, but what is it? Need You Now, Lady Antebellum. I didn't even know.
How's that one go? How's that one
Yeah,
go?
because I was doing my log. I was like, what song is this? I didn't know what it was. So I had to type it in. So, of course, Silver Bells, a classic.
Yeah.
And Somewhere Over the Rainbow. That one gets in my head a lot.
Interesting. That is so interesting. Maybe there'll be a whole psychology study down the line on, the types of songs you play and what that means. No, I'm teasing.
Right? No, I think it's interesting because that's why I started keeping track. Because obviously, so for instance, I was watching Iron Man, the movie. My movie choices are so diverse. Princess and the Frog, Iron Man. And they had, what is it? California Knows How to Party on it.
Yes. That's a good one.
But like
California
yeah,
knows how to party.
I was like, yes, you do. So I was, that's very obvious. I heard it in a movie, then I sing it. But like this morning, I woke up to literally opened my eyes and had the song in my head. I'm Not Over You by Carolina Liar. I had to look that up too.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know that one off the top.
I'll send it to you. It's a fun one. It sounds sad, but it's actually high energy.
Okay, I like it.
But there was no reason for that. I was asleep, and then I hadn't heard that song in a year.
Interesting.
So there was no method for that one. There's no reason I could think of.
Interesting.
I just didn't notice.
I love it. We need Vanessa Valiente's playlist. Your mental playlist. We can track.
It's weird, just like me.
Not at all. Well, Vanessa, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to chat with me. I'm fascinated that we're not alone, right? I want to hear from other people. Like, what's going on in your head? Tell us.
No, I'm so grateful for that article. Seriously, knock my socks off. And now I have a
yeah, now you have a log. I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you again for your time. Really, really appreciate it. Stay well. Stay well, stay happy. People are always saying stay well, stay safe. And I'm like, I'm not doing anything risky. So I think I'm good.
I would say stay well and healthy. Or
there you go.
Well and healthy.
There you go.
Awesome. Like well's like up here and then healthy,
yes.
Good
distinction. I like that. All right, I might use that. So, well, great to see you.